Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial. And today we've got a view of the battleship that even I have never gotten before. Those of you who served on board have seen this view a number of times, but basically for the ship's entire museum career, there was a tent, a permanent frame with a temporary canvas structure built over the fantail of the ship for events. And along with that, we always had the flight deck railings up and other things like that set up for visitor safety and that sort of stuff. However, with the tent down for normal maintenance and nothing much else going on, we've dropped these to make sure that they will still actuate. Remember, last summer we painted the side of the ship, which included contractors slapping paint on everything, including the hinge mechanisms for these. And one of the things that we like to do on museum ships is to keep things in working order for those just-in-case moments. And so making sure that these hinges actually work and finding that some stuff doesn't quite work right and getting new shackles and things like that means that we keep this in the best preserved position possible. They're not rusting shut, they're not painted shut. So these railings back here on the fantail are very specifically for helicopter flight operations. You'll still see this exact same pattern on modern ships today. New Jersey was the first Iowa-class battleship to have these installed in 1967 or 1968 as she was being modified for the Vietnam War. Prior to that, the Iowa-class battleships did do flight operations in the late 40s and throughout the 50s. However, they had the same normal style railings that they were built with in World War II. And those railings, the majority of them, hinge side to side. There's a pin in the bottom, you take it out and they can just slide side to side. So you take the chains off and drop them, and that's great if you're doing an underway replenishment transfer, or you've got to drop a section of railing to drop your accommodation brow to let people walk up from the ship's boat, or you're nesting multiple ships together and you got to create a path to go from your ship across the gangway to another ship. Like, there were a lot of reasons for that, and so the Navy kind of put the premium folding style railings on these ships. And that was fine for flight operations in the early years of helicopters. They didn't even put like an official flight deck on the ship. Those old helicopters like Jersey Bounce, Dragonfly style helicopters would just land right on the original wood deck. During New Jersey's Vietnam deployment, they built up a steel deck over that, and they added these sorts of collapsible railings. When they're up, they function the exact same as a normal railing. When they're down, notice they are netted in a way that's very different from other railings on the ship, and that is so if something happens, if I trip over this lip and fall into it, or if the helicopter rotor wash, I'm not prepared for that, and somehow get blown over the ship, or there's an explosion back here because we're handling aviation gasoline, and I get blown over the ship, there's a strong chance that I'm going to be caught and saved by the net and not end up in the water in a position where it's difficult to rescue me. We'd like to thank Southern New Hampshire University for sponsoring today's video. Southern New Hampshire University can help prepare you for a career, whether you're changing careers out of one that you hate or entering the workforce for the very first time. For those of you who watch this channel, I know that you're interested in museums and history and that sort of stuff, and they have a number of degrees that could help you break into the museum field yourself, or become a better historian, learn how to do research, and that sort of stuff. SNHU has been voted one of the country's most innovative universities by US News and World Report. SNHU is one of the largest accredited universities in the United States, with some of the most affordable online tuition rates in the nation. Go to snhu.edu/battleship to explore over 200 degree programs to find your path forward. This is not the only folding feature relevant to flight deck ops. Up through the 1960s, the ship had the aviation crane on the fantail. That was installed when the ship was built for the ship's float planes, but it was retained for use with the ship's boats, which often lived on rolling carts back here on the fantail. the positions they had been intended to be put in and the cranes that were intended to be installed between the smokestacks, like older American battleships, were deleted while the Iowa class were under construction to be used as space for additional anti-aircraft guns. On the Iowa class in particular, it's where you get that triple stack of 40mm guns amidships near the aft funnel. That's where boat handling was supposed to be during the original plans. On this original builder's model, you can see that very clearly. With that gone, the boats are handled on the fantail. They don't have their own crane, so they're using the aviation crane. The aviation crane is retained even when the float planes go away for those boats. But it limits helicopter ops. The helicopter can't come right up the stern of the ship, match the ship's speed, and come down. It's got to slide in from the side. And you can even see that in this top view of the ship during Vietnam, where the lineup line comes in straight across. In the 1980s, that crane is finally deleted and a boom on the port side of the superstructure is instead used for handling the ship's boats. And that allowed helicopter operations from right across the stern of the ship. So there's one other feature that gets in the way of that, and that is the ship's flagstaff. Both the jackstaff at the bow and the flagstaff at the stern are designed to hinge. So the flagstaff here is about 18 feet tall. It's bolted in at the bottom at a single point, which allows it to pivot up and down. And you can see it's got a bracket here with some bolts that'll hold it in place. It also has tripod legs that come down and bolt to the deck. So this is here for when you're in port to fly the American flag from the stern. Likewise, when you're in port, you fly the naval jack from the bow. When you're underway, however, you shift colors and the jack comes down entirely and the American flag comes down from here and goes up and hangs on the mast. You might have seen us shift colors when we sailed the ship to dry dock. While that's going on, you would drop these flagstaffs entirely. So that's going to allow for safer helicopter access to the flight deck. It's going to allow, in theory, for the guns to fire over the bow without blowing away that flagstaff, although the disc cone cage antenna added in the 1960s prevents that particular thing. But most importantly for our case, it allows us to change out the masthead lights. Both the jackstaff and the flagstaff at the stern have lights on them, regular white lights, that help show the exact length of the ship for other ships operating around us at night. And so we have to change these bulbs out periodically. Like I said earlier, this thing's about 3 curators tall, somewhere around 18 feet, and it's too tall for us to climb up and access, so it's easier to just hinge it down and change it right here on the deck. There is also a bracket back here at the fantail that this slots into for when it's taken down. You completely unbolt it and then mount it in that bracket. And we don't need to do that today because we're just going to change the bulb and then Iwo Jima it back up. Battleship New Jersey's flight deck is set up the way it would have been for flight operations in the 60s and 80s, with everything flush. It's really, really cool to see the ship like this for the very first time. And really, it's my first time seeing the ship without the tent on board. I think her silhouette looks so much better in her natural pre-museum state. And it's really cool. I'm not quite sure how long the tent's going to be down, but plan to visit the ship in June as early as you can to be able to get this view. 3 of the 4 Iowa-class battleships have a semi-permanent fantail structure. Wisconsin is the only one that has a clear fantail at this point. However, given how perfect this is as an event space, it's likely that they will get a fantail structure at some point in the future. So be sure to check out New Jersey while you can. Make it to Wisconsin if you get the chance, and check out the flight deck the way the Navy intended it. What are some other pieces of equipment you think we should actuate for maintenance? Again, we thought it was important to do these because we painted here recently. So if there's any projects you've seen us do around here that you think, hey, doing that might impact X, you haven't operated in a while, let us know and we'll add it to our list. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State, as well as from a number of other businesses and private individuals like yourselves. We really appreciate your support. There's a link in the description below for ways you can donate to support the museum. You can also support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing so more people find out about the museum and our channel. Thanks for watching.